Thokozani. It is me, Gogo uMkhanya, and thank you so much for joining me for another installment of Vusela. And this week we are going to be talking about what it means, or what are some of the signs and symptoms of having an ancestral calling. I get this question a lot. There are a lot of people that I speak to who come to me and they want to know, I'm having these symptoms, I'm having these dreams, I'm having these visions, I'm having these experiences, and I want to know, does it mean that I have to be a Sangoma? Is that what it means? Well, yes and no. It depends. And that's what we're going to get into in this video. The first thing I want to do, though, before I get into that, is I want to kind of dispel some myths, just a couple of myths around being a Sangoma. There is a myth that once you become a Sangoma, or when you're called to be a Sangoma, that means you can no longer live your life. You can no longer experience joy. You can no longer have fun. You can no longer have sex. You can no longer have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You're just going to spend your life in this mud hut and barefoot and rattling bones and calling on demons and spirits and, being a witch doctor. None of that is the case. There are some of us who are called to a very monastic kind of life. And by monastic, I mean we're called to really devote our lives to the Ndumba, to that work, and the ancestors. That is what they want from us. But that's not all of us. I wouldn't even say that's the majority of us that I've seen and I've encountered. Granted, I am a Sangoma who was born in the United States, and I don't live in the culture, in my neighborhood, my community of uMkhanya. Of course, in my home, it is uMkhanya and the people I associate with within my Mpande, my god sisters, my Malume, my Baba Mkulu, all of that. But outside of that, of course, I'm in America, and uMkhanya is not popping here like some other traditions, just simply because it's more secret. And of course for other reasons, but I don't want to get too far into that. The fact of the matter is that most of the Sangomas that I know are very much individual. Each of us are individual. We each have our own Atlozi. We each have our own calling. We each have our own gift, our own story, our own experiences. All of these things make us unique. So there are no two Sangomas that are alike. Not even if they graduate together. There are no two Sangomas that are alike. Not even if they're twin sisters or twin brothers or whatever the case may be. There are no two Sangomas that are alike. So if you are, Marcos, if you are thinking that you have a calling, you're wondering about your calling, you're wondering if you have a calling, don't bog your mind down with fear as to whether or not you're going to have to give up your life. Like, oh my God, I had all these dreams and plans for my life, now I'm going to have to give them all up. That's not the case. That's not necessarily the case. You really don't know until you get into it and you begin to develop that relationship with your Adlozi and see exactly what your gifts are and how your ancestors would like to use them and how your capability, your creativity, what you bring in your own being to your gift, and to see how that's going to work out. So really, the number one thing about wondering if you have a calling going into this process is to not draw any conclusions, to not come to any preconceived notions about the process, because you are literally going through a metamorphosis. You don't know what your colors will be when you come out. You don't know how beautiful your wings will be. You don't know how many feathers you'll have. You don't know what will come of it. So just let it, don't try to figure it out before you even get started. That's the first thing. And the second thing, and probably it's just as important, it's the most important thing, period, is to make sure you have relationship with your ancestors. Make sure you are talking to them. If you think you have an ancestral calling and an ancestral gift, the very first thing that you should do is you should begin to kupatla your ancestors. Should begin to talk with them, should begin to communicate with them. How do you kupatla your ancestors? Well, I'll do a video on that, on ways that you can connect with and communicate with your ancestors. But light those candles, burn that in pepo, put that tobacco or that snuff down, get that clear water, and go down on your knees and say, Tokoza Metlozi, Tokozani Metlozi, Tokozani Amakulu, and talk to your people, let them know who you are, and ask them to guide you, and ask them to bring them into your life. That is the most important thing. If you think you have an ancestral calling, you think you have a calling, you feel like you have a calling, answer it. See who's on the other end. Hello, Tokoza ancestors. It's me, your child. I need your guidance. Bridge, you have to build that bridge. It is so important that you build that bridge. That's the first thing I would tell anybody who's wondering if they have an ancestral calling. The second thing that I would say is I would begin to investigate. I would investigate if there are certain dreams that this person has been having, if they've been having certain types of experiences, what types of dreams have they been having, because the dreams are another major way to determine whether or not how your ancestors are calling you, what they're calling you to, what they're calling you to do, if they're calling you. We have dreams about all kinds of stuff, but ancestral dreams, Lozi dreams, are very different. They're a very different kind of dream. When people begin to have Lozi dreams, they can be the kind of people who have never remembered their dreams before. But when they begin to have Lozi dreams, they remember those dreams like it just happened. Like, I was there, this is what happened, these are the colors, this is what the person said, this is what happened. And it's usually very surreal. It's a very surreal kind of experience. You'll dream of yourself perhaps being underwater, being near water, being around water. Most definitely being underwater in a waterfall, deep underwater. You'll see beings that come to you under the water. They may speak to you. They may give you things. If you're given something in a dream by a being, whether it's an animal or whether it's another anthropomorphic being with a head, 2 arms, 2 legs, because we can't say human, right? Because it's visiting you in your dream realm. So this is a spirit being that is visiting you in your dream, in the dream realm, and it's giving you something and it's saying something to you, and maybe it's calling you by a name, and you don't know this name. You're like, that's not my name, but it's calling you by a name. That's definitely one of the ways that you know you have a calling. Another way that you know you have a calling in the dreams is if you see yourself in the beads. All of the beads that I have on, outside of course, my Twaza, my very first beads that I was given when I was a Twaza. All of the other dreams, and of course my Fislo, but all of my other beads are beads that have come to me in dreams that let me know when my ancestors want me to do a specific kind of work. They want me to embody a specific kind of energy. So your ancestors you'll see yourself in the beads in your dream. You'll see yourself dressed as a Twaza. You'll see yourself in the red skirt. That is a major, major thing. Not everyone has that dream, but if you have that dream, that is a way that you will know that you have been called, and that you are being called by your ancestors. You see yourself as a Twaza, or you see yourself as a Sangoma, or you dream of Sangomas and Twazas, and they're coming to you, and they're communicating to you. So lots of different things. I say, if you're having dreams that are troubling you, whether you're concerned about being gifted or not, if you're having dreams that are troubling you, I highly recommend that you get a dream journal, that you get a book, that you write your dreams down, because your unconscious, or your subconscious rather, your ancestors, spirit, all of that speaks in your dreams. And so it's very important to have that dream journal where you can kind of track these things. So you feel like, maybe maybe you're not having dreams. Maybe that's not your experience. Maybe you have depression or anxiety or schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, multiple personality disorder. You've been diagnosed. It's untreatable. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. You're about to die almost. You feel like you're about to die. That is also another way that you can know that you have an ancestral calling. And the reason why I laughed is because you're like, oh my God. I know I was like, oh my God, my ancestors really almost killed me to call me. And it's like they're not the ones that killed or that were trying to kill me. They're not the ones that brought the depression on. It is the state that one is in when they are out of alignment, when they have a calling and you get out of alignment, then the depression can come in, then all of these things can come in. But also, and this is where the training comes in, it's so important, that same depression that can be a signal that you're out of alignment can actually be a signal that you're very much in alignment. And there's a big wave coming. There's a download coming. There's someone with a problem coming. Maybe the depression that you feel is not even yours. Maybe it belongs to someone else. And you're feeling it because you know that this is the person that's going to be coming and I'm going to have to heal them. So the mental health issues, the mental health, physical health issues that can't really be treated, that we just kind of live with and we don't know what to do. We hear voices, we see dreams, they terrify us, we don't know what they mean. I have these feelings, I go outside and I just feel everything in it. Like all of these types of things are ways that one can know that they have an ancestral calling. I can't really stress the dreams enough, because the dreams, I would say, is probably the number one way that you know. Of course, if your lozi comes down, and when we say it lozi comes down, that means that that spirit that's in you is just like, rah, let me out. Maybe it's been riled up by church drums, or maybe you went to an Mgita drumming ceremony or something, and it's been riled up by other people's spirits, and you've just had this experience where you can't control your body, and you don't know what's happening in your body, and maybe sounds are coming out. I know in the Pentecostal church, a lot of people who have ancestral gifts and ancestral callings get mistaken for demon-possessed people. Because when the ancestors come out and they've been held down for so long and they've been locked in for so long, and when they come out and they're raging and they're ready to go and they're ready to scream, and church people here in America, they don't know what to do with that. That was my case. They were like, oh, we got to pray for her, plead the blood of Jesus, and all this other stuff, when it was really just my ancestor who wanted to come out and express himself and make himself known. So there's that. So you can have your lozi to come down. You can have the dreams and all of the very specific kinds of dreams and experiences. You may be smelling pepo, and no one's burning in pepo. Maybe you hear high-pitched ringing. Maybe you see images. Maybe you hear drumming, kind of like Jumanji in the background. That also used to happen to me. Before I began Ukutwaza, I would hear Indao drums. And I would be like, where in the world are these drums coming from? It was my ancestors, and they were calling. Now, I'm all the way here in America, but it literally sounded like drums were from far, far away. And it wasn't until I got to South Africa that I realized that that's what I was hearing, was the endowed drums. So there are many, many different signs, many ways that you can know that you have a calling. If you have any of these symptoms or just anything that you're going through that you don't understand, you can't sleep, maybe you're always waking up at a certain time of day or night, you have maybe you have severe mood swings, you have periods where you don't want to be bothered, just so many different things. Anything that is kind of out of whack could potentially be a sign that your ancestors are calling you. And so the way that we square all that up, the way that we know once and for all, is divination. The bones have to be thrown. Once the bones are thrown by an experienced Sangoma, and you receive a consultation, and they say, ancestors have called you. You have a calling, you have a gift. How will you answer? And once you hear that, that's when it's really incumbent upon you to really get into that ancestral relationship. Because if you just keep going to other Sangomas, like, well, I done been to 2 or 3 Sangomas and they all telling me the same thing. By the time you get to me, I'm going to keep it real with you, because I am American. I'm going to keep it real with you, and I'm going to be like, girl, what else you want me to tell you? My brother, what else you want me to tell you? My sister, I don't have nothing else for you. Your spirits will come to me and tell me we've already spoken to her about this. It's almost like a wayward child, where the parent has to come and say, I apologize, I've spoken to them about this. They know better than to behave this way. It's kind of the same thing. You don't need 5 confirmations from 5 different Sangomas. What you need to do is get with your ancestors, find out exactly what your next steps, what they want your next steps to be, where they want you to go. Ask them to send you a Gobella, and don't move until they do. They may not send you to a Gobella for another year, for another 2 years. Maybe some other things have to line up. It may not be immediate that you need to go right then and right there. Get with your ancestors, because ultimately nobody knows your calling better than you. So if you even feel like, oh, I think I may have, and I feel like I may have, then you need to act like you may have. You need to act like you may have a calling. And really investigate it. Get with your ancestors. Write down your dreams. Go talk to a Sangoma. Get the consultation done, and then decide. And I know that that's very easy to do, and it's a very kind of blanket statement, because there are young people who, I talked about that in my other video about, you being gifted, but your parents are religious. They're young people. They don't have their own resources, their own car, their own money, so they have to depend on their families. But if your ancestors are calling you at that time, the very least that you can do is to develop that relationship and ask them, and when I say develop that relationship, you talk to your ancestors the same way that you talk to anybody else, because they're real just like everybody else. So you let them know, listen, you say, unless it's something that absolutely has to happen right now, of course that does happen. But if you're not overwhelmed by the symptoms you're having, and if you can manage, and if maybe the timing just isn't right, maybe I need to wait another year. I graduate, university or school or academy or whatever. I graduate in 6 months or a year. Ancestors, can you, when you talk to them, and then ask them, to send you to a teacher, and a teacher who can understand your plight and understand what you're going through. All of these things have to work in tandem. There's no one thing that you do that says, it's going to solve all the problems. Everything works in tandem. The number one thing is you and your relationship with your ancestors. Write down your dreams. Write down your visions. Talk to your ancestors. It's so important that you talk to your ancestors. They are your ancestors. Nobody can know them better than you, because they are your ancestors. They are your people. So you get with your people. I think, are you calling me? And they will answer you. Ask them to speak to you in a way that you can understand. I think sometimes we think that we can't ask our ancestors to make it plain for us. Not necessarily give me a sign, but can you make it plain? And maybe the way that they'll make it plain is they'll send you someone. Maybe you'll be drawn to a Sangoma, Gogo, Nkulu, a Makosi, a Palesa. You'll be drawn to them. And the answers will come that way. The number one thing is to remain open. It's to remain flexible. It's to remain honest. Honest. Don't give your ancestors a reluctant yes. Be certain within yourself. Doesn't mean that you know exactly what's going to happen, that you have all the answers, but you know that this is what I need to do. I know when my ancestors brought me to this path, there was nothing in me that was resistant to walking down this path, even though I didn't know what it entailed. I just knew that this is where I was supposed to go. So you have to trust that. So if you're having any of those symptoms, the dreams about the beads, about the snakes, about other creatures, beings that come to you in your dream time, being under the water, smelling the impepo, hearing the ringing, seeing things, hearing things, in combination with the depression or the anxiety, and just all of these different things, secret struggles that you may be having. I do suggest that you contact a Sangoma that you feel comfortable with. It may not be me. It may be another Sangoma. It may be one on that side, or it may be me, whatever. But I suggest you get with someone who can help guide you through your process, because if you're even questioning whether or not you have ancestors, like I said before, that it usually means that you have some sort of a gift that needs to be expressed. Perhaps not as a Sangoma, but there's a gift that needs to be expressed. There's an ancestral gift that you have that needs further assistance in being expressed and being fulfilled and realized. So I hope this video has answered some of those questions for you. I hope it was enlightening, and that you, those of you who are having questions, that you do feel somewhat empowered to continue on in your process and to really, really begin to develop that relationship with your ancestors so that you can know for sure what you need to know for sure. Okay? Until next time, I look so forward to speaking with you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Till closing.